Hey guys, this is Robert with the Recreational Woodworker.com, and today we're doing a versus video. This is the Mirka Deros 6-inch pad, 150 millimeters, with the 5mm stroke. I also have the 5-inch pad for this, but we're doing as close to apples and apples as we can. This is my beloved Rotex 150. I have used this guy for a long time in my shop. It has paid for itself in time saved several times. This is the new kid on the block in my shop anyway, so I'm trying to see which one can take the bottom side of this table, so the ugly side, flat, and remove all this glue stuff fastest. We're going to be using the exact same sandpaper. I've got the medium pad on this and a medium pad on this, so I'm trying to do as close as possible. This is a gear-driven rotary sander. So this will probably hog through the grits faster on the low end, but once you get to about 120, I always put it into the random orbit mode, which also has a 5mm stroke. Now I will tell you, this definitely produces a better finish from once you get to 180, 120. What I'm trying to see is, do I need both in my shop? Like, this is a $600 sander. This, I think, including tax, was about a $700 sander. These are not cheap tools. They are true professional grade tools. Both are very, very good. I'm just trying to see, do I want to keep both, or do I want to try to sell this and recoup some of my money if I can get by with just this guy? Notice I haven't talked about getting rid of this guy and only having this guy, because this definitely produces a better finish. I was originally going to buy the ETS EC 150 from Festool, but they are like completely back ordered and all that, so I was like, I kind of just want something light and nimble. I'm going to try the Mirka. It has really good reviews. People love it, and so far I love it too. Alright, let's get started. For each sander, we're going to be using a brand new sheet of Festool Granite. We're going to start with 40 grit, clean up all the glue squeeze out, flatten it, and then we'll use pencil lines, and then we'll time each one to see how it's doing. So this is obviously going to be a super exciting video, but I will throw it into time lapse so we can speed through that footage, give you my thoughts, and I'll also do like subjective stuff on like, how does my hand feel after I'm done with it? Is it tingly? Does it, which is easier to use? All that kind of stuff. All right, let's get started. So I'm just going to use my stopwatch app on my phone, set it over here. You know, we're not going to be going into like tenths of a second, so it doesn't have to be that precise. But I will start this and start sanding. All right, you can see we got 7 minutes, 11 seconds to get that done. And you can see I just flattened it, removed all the glue squeeze out on the back side. Normally I take the backs of my tables up to like 80 or 120 and then do just a one coat of sealant on them. You can see what it looks like. There's a ridge right there that I got. Top's a lot better because I dominoed it from the top. But you can see what we did in 7 minutes. Now let's see how long it takes the Mirka to do the exact same thing. A bunch of things went wrong. Battery died on the camera. I got interrupted a couple of times by my neighbor. He had a few questions to ask me, but I did pause my timer whenever he came in. So we might be a few seconds off here, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. So we are looking at 13:49. So almost 14 minutes for the Mirka to flatten to 40 grit. And this is the underside of the table because I don't want to sand a top of a table with two different grits. So that's why I'm doing the bottom side, and the bottom is always not as tightly joined up as the top because I domino from the top. So we have 13, 49, 55 for the Mirka Deros at 40 grit to flatten. And then this guy is 7. So almost twice as fast. So multiply that by 2. I'm looking at about 14.5 minutes to sand this whole table versus about 28 minutes to sand this whole table. So that adds up, and multiply that by 50 tables a year, and you have a lot of labor there just for flattening at 40 grit. So for that alone, it's worth me keeping the Rotex. This does not replace your Rotex. For the flattening operations, where I'm really curious to see is, now that we're flat, what it looks like from 80 to 120 to 180. And then I'm gonna stain the back of this to see like what it really looks like. All right, same thing as before, I'm gonna use brand new Festool Granat disc on both sanders. Both sanders will be hooked up to disc collection, and this is the same top, so it's equivalently the same. I put pencil lines all over this. I'll know I'm done when I remove all the pencil lines. I'm gonna keep it in Rotex mode for 80 grit. And then this, we're just going full speed with an 80 grit disc. Alright guys, so we just sanded with 80 grit on both of these. The Rotex is still on Rotex mode. The Mirka did it in 6:49, so almost 7 minutes. So what's that, about twice as fast as before? But check this out. The Rotex did it in 2:48. So that is a huge time savings. Now let's go a little bit subjective and let's talk about the finish it left. The Rotex, now this is a bad glue up, okay? Like in an ideal world, it'd be perfectly flat. Everything would be perfectly milled to the same thickness, but not everything's always perfect, so you make it perfect. And this is the bottom side. Anyway, so subjectively, the Rotex did a better job of flattening. Like the hills and valleys from the cupping of the boards is less with the Rotex. There's not any like ridges between the grains where it's from the sapwood to hardwood right there. On the Mirka, those hills and valleys are less, but they're still much more prominent. And with the 40 grit, I could feel the difference between the hardwood and sapwood coming through. So that's a little bit subjective. Obviously, the Rotex is a ton faster. I'm gonna run math and see like how long it'll take the Rotex to pay for itself and time saved versus these in a second. But now we're gonna switch the Rotex over to its random orbit mode, not the Rotex mode, into 120 and 180. And this is where I think the Mirka will really start to pull ahead. So two same size sanders, two great sanders, but two very different uses. So keep that in mind. Now that one was more interesting. 120 with both sanders, both brand new sheets. Just standing until I erase my pencil marks. The Rotex did it in 5:06. And that's with it on random orbit mode, not Rotex mode. We already know if it was in Rotex mode, it would cut that time in half. But in my experience, I have found once I get to 120, I need to switch to random orbit mode to get a better finish. Your mileage may vary. The Mirka was only about, what is that, 8 seconds faster? Yeah, about 8 seconds faster overall. And so now we get to more of the subjective things. I do know already that the Mirka produces a better finish. Like that's, like you can argue that with me all you want. In my experience, doing side by sides, putting stain on it, once you get to 120, 180, the Mirka produces a much better, cleaner finish with fewer swirl marks. Subjectively, the Mirka has a little bit more vibration actually. There's weights you can actually change around to take the vibration out. I think it's just because it's such a lighter sander, more of that vibration comes up to it. But you can get by with just one hand. It's very easy to control. It's very easy to move around. So from an ease of use factor, once you get to these grits, I would say the Mirka is easier to handle when the Rotex takes two hands, and it like kind of lurches on you every once in a while whenever it's not in Rotex mode. I don't know if that's just 2 years of heavy professional use that's wearing it out, or if that's just kind of the way it is because it's such a kind of out of balance sander. So that is kind of where I'm at with the 120 and 180. Well, I haven't done the 180 yet, so I'm about to do the 180 and we'll see how that turns out. I forgot to start my stopwatch on that last one. Had to take a break for a little bit, go do some other stuff. So I extrapolated the time frame. I shoot 15 at 15 speed doing time lapse. I had 5, basically multiply that by 15 is 330 seconds. That is 5.5 minutes. I probably had 20 seconds of 30 seconds of getting set up right there. I mean, that's kind of hard to do, right? Yeah, so the Mirka was at 408 for the 180 grit. Let's say maybe 445, something like that. The Mirka was faster on the 180 grit by a little bit, but not like a crazy amount. So what I want to do next is I'm gonna handle my center line that I need to do that I just taped off, and then I will I'll probably just do that in Rotex because we know it's faster. Just flatten it down because this is the underside anyway, and then I'm gonna put some stain on it so we can see any pigtails or anything like there, and then we'll talk about what I think my conclusions are and what I'm gonna do, and then talk about how long things take to pay for themselves, kind of thing. So the good news is both these sanders produce what I would call a finish completely ready for to give to your customer. Both did a good job. There's a few issues that I do want to highlight from each one, and then I'll show you what my final solution is for using these two sanders. All right, this is the Mirka side. Overall, it did great. There's a few places that just it didn't have the horsepower to level. You can see a little bit of glue squeeze out right here. All the way to 180. I'm not seeing any swirls or pigtails. A few right here again in that uneven spot that it just couldn't flatten. And then overall looks really good. So now the center section right here, I just taped it off and flattened with my Rotex and then taped it off because it was too much overlap to think I'd really be fair. Now on the Rotex side, I'm seeing a lot more scratches. They're very, very small. Like, I don't even know if the camera will pick them up, but like right here, you can see the swirl marks and the scratches right there, and you can see that kind of crosshatch pattern. It's not bad. I still need to buff this off a little bit more, but this is our underside. They're not super visible. They're not anything that would be like, oh no, we have to redo this top. But then like right here, there's a few deeper scratches that didn't come out all the way. Whoops. But overall, great finish for both of them. I guess that means it's conclusion time. So, in short, I have the luxury to have both of these sanders. If I had to choose one or the other, that's where it gets really hard. Both are fantastic. Both of them do a really good job for what they are. I almost think if I could only have one, I might choose the Mirka for the sole reason that it can take both a 5-inch disc and a 6-inch disc. And I'm going to do a more comparison over the different size disc as well. It does leave a better finish. That's undeniable. However, the Rotex, if you use it correctly, doesn't leave a bad finish. That being said, I bought the Rotex first, and I'm having trouble saying don't buy that sander. If it's not a one or the other thing, both are great sanders. What I will say is if you have a good 5-inch finish sander, like I had a little Makita over there that's battery powered. It's not great, but it's not bad. We burned through several DeWalt finish sanders, the corded variable speed DeWalts. I will put a link in the description below. For about $100, that is a fantastic sander. It just, as much as we use them in the shop whenever 3 people were sanding almost nonstop, those guys, we just burned through them. We just burned them up. But overall, they produce a great finish, great looking. So if you have something like that, or you already have like a Festool ETS 125, like a good finish sander with a smaller stroke size, I would tell you get the Rotex, and then you'll have kind of the best of both worlds. If you do this professionally, honestly, both for what you do. If you produce a lot of tabletops, the Rotex and its flattening power is just hard to beat. If I only could have one though, I think I would choose the Mirka just because the variable size disc gives it, and just the lightweight, it's a one-handed sander, it's a little easier to use. With the Rotex and Rotex mode, especially on 40 grit, you're wrestling it. It'll wear you out. But with the Mirka, it's a lot smoother in the hand, things like that. As far as vibration, after you flatten an entire tabletop, my hands are a little bit tingly, but not near as much as you'll get from like your DeWalts or your Bosches or things like that. I hope this helps. I know it's not really a one or the other. They're two very different sanders used in different ways, but I've seen that question come up of the Rotex versus the Mirka Deros several times, and I didn't see an answer, so I saw the opportunity to make a really cool video on it and kind of maybe help you make your buying decision. So I told you I did the top of this in a little bit different way. The way I did that was I left my Rotex in Rotex mode from 40 all the way up to 180, because the Rotex mode shaves about half that time down. That got me done really quick. And then I did 180 a second time with the Mirka Deros to remove some of those pigtails and things that the Rotex has a habit of leaving. And that is the final note, is the skill required to use the sanders. The Mirka Deros is you put your hand on it, you move it around, you're good. With the Rotex, because of the balance of it, it takes more skill to hold it flat against your surface, and an unskilled person in your shop that doesn't really know how to do that will have a tendency to tilt it one way or another, which will leave horrible marks in your work that you won't see until you sand it. So that's something to think about. Hope you found this video useful. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and check us out on Facebook at our private Facebook group, therecreationalwoodworker.com. Wait, no, stop that. Our private Facebook group is the Recreational Woodworker on Facebook. We also have the website. You should check us out there too. We have project plans to build your own dog kennel, kitchen cabinet plans, and I'm trying to expand that library of plans all the time, so check us out there. But then go to Facebook, join us there, ask questions, learn from others, all that good stuff. See y'all next week. Bye.